Important buildings in Jamaica. Devon House. This house is a fine example of 19th century domestic architecture in Jamaica. It is a beautifully restored mansion and a major source of attraction and place of relaxation. The magnetic appeal of Devon House is not just in the beautifully restored rooms with their antique furniture and lovely decorations, but also in the shops selling Jamaican craft items and the restaurants serving authentic Jamaican food. It is a major source of pride for many Jamaicans. Bob Marley Museum. Bob Marley Museum is located along Hope Road in the former residence of the Honorable Robert Nesta Marley. Erected around 1911 on the foundations of the original church, the Kingston Parish Church is an attractive building. The present structure, with the exception of the tower, is similar in design to the original building, which was destroyed in the earthquake of 1907. Gordon House is a two-story contemporary building with a distinct, symmetrical design at its entrance elevation. The building is of an L-shaped design with an open courtyard for parking concealed from the adjoining roads. On Wednesday, October 26, 1960, Gordon House became the official meeting place of the Jamaican government, replacing Headquarters House, which was the meeting place of the government since 1872. The building was named in honor of national hero, the Right Excellent George William Gordon, who supported freedom and justice for all classes in the society. The Institute of Jamaica was established in 1879 during the governorship of Sir Anthony Musgrave for the encouragement of literature, science, and art. It was regarded as the chief agency designed to help government in the promotion and preservation of culture in the island. The Institute, with its multifaceted and highly specialized sections, serves as the house of information on all that is Jamaican, past and present. Liberty Hall. National hero, the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey, was born in St. Ann's Bay from humble beginnings, but by the time of his death in 1940 had become an international figure who had traveled the continents of Europe and the Americas. He is probably one of Jamaica's best-known citizens. His Universal Negro Improvement Association, UNIA, which he founded in 1914 with its slogan, "One God, One Aim, One Destiny," became a symbol of hope for the downtrodden black race. The UNIA was intended to improve the conditions of black people around the world. The Constitution required each UNIA to have a Liberty Hall, which was its headquarters. Liberty Halls existed in New York, Panama, Costa Rica, and Belize. Liberty Hall, located at 76 King Street, Kingston, was the center of activities for the Kingston division of the UNIA. It was acquired in 1923 for £800 sterling. The two-story building was the first meeting hall in Jamaica that was fully owned and operated by blacks. The St. Andrew Parish Church was founded in 1664 and is one of the oldest churches in the country. It was founded some 4 years after Britain established civil administration following conquest of the island from Spain. It is named after the Apostle Andrew, the patron saint of Scotland. Until the disestablishment of the Anglican Church in 1870, St. Andrew Parish Church was the only Anglican church in the parish, and had therefore responsibility for the spiritual welfare of the parishioners. The Ward Theatre was presented as a gift to the city of Kingston in 1912 by Colonel Charles Ward, then Custos of Kingston. It occupies a site in downtown Kingston, which has been in continuous use as a theater since the 1770s. The first was the Kingston Theater, and the second was the Theater Royal, which was destroyed in the 1907 earthquake. The greatest personalities in Jamaican theater and world-famous celebrities have performed on its stage. The Ward Theater holds a special place in the hearts of Jamaicans, probably because of its association with the development of indigenous theater. The East Queen Street Baptist Church. The East Queen Street Baptist Church is one of several historic churches in Kingston. Dedicated on January 22, 1822, the church had the largest Baptist membership in the world, 2,937 members, at the time of its dedication. In 1966, the East Queen Street Baptist Church established the George Leal Education Center, named for the man credited for starting the work of the Baptists in Jamaica. In 1783, George Leal, a colored North American, former enslaved African, arrived on the island and began preaching. His message was met with opposition from the plantocracy, as his views reflected a stance against enslavement. Leal gave the enslaved persons his full focus, unlike the established churches, and they responded to him and his message in droves. His presence excited the masses, hence, after emancipation, many enslaved Africans continued to worship with the Baptists. The East Queen Street Baptist Church has been attentive to both the spiritual and educational needs of their members. The church was instrumental in the building of the Gully School, now Calabar Primary and Junior High, and today has many outreach programs. Holy Trinity Cathedral. The Holy Trinity Cathedral on North Street in Kingston replaced the Holy Trinity Church on the corner of Duke and Sutton Streets, which was destroyed in the 1907 earthquake. The cathedral was built in 1911 in the Byzantine Revival style. It was designed by Raymond F. Admiral, a New York architect. Its main feature is an 85-foot-high copper-covered dome. Rose Hall Great House. Overlooking the beautiful Caribbean Sea, on the hills of the former Rose Hall Sugar Estate, approximately 10 kilometers from Montego Bay, St. James, is the very imposing Rose Hall Great House. With the many stories about its former owner, Annie Palmer, and the cruelty she meted out to her slaves, Rose Hall Great House is a very popular visitor attraction. Restored to its former glory, visitors may have a guided tour of the Great House and visit the tomb of Annie Palmer. On the grounds of the Great House are several gift shops and snack counters. Rose Hall Great House was built in the mid-19th century by George Ashe for John Palmer, Custos of St. Thomas. The Great House, which is of Georgian architecture, is built of cut stone on the first two levels and stucco on the third and uppermost level. The main approach to the second level of the building consists of a cut stone, symmetrical grand staircase, which leads to a veranda on the seaward side of the building. The building is completed with sash windows, keystone, coins, and a hip roof. Greenwood Great House. The Barretts of Wimpole Street fame came to Jamaica in the 1660s and amassed great wealth from their sugar plantations. They built Greenwood in 1790 as a guest house. Greenwood Great House, located in the parish of St. James on Jamaica's north coast, is a fine example of late 18th century great house construction in Jamaica. Both Greenwood and Barrett Hall, a couple miles up the hill behind it, once belonged to Richard Barrett, a leading planter in the island, who was once Speaker of the Assembly and Custos of the parish of St. James. He was a cousin of the Moulton Barretts of Cinnamon Hill, and thus related to the Barretts of Wimpole Street. Richard Barrett was cousin to the poet Elizabeth Barrett Browning. The Great House now functions as a museum. Included in the museum is the original library of the Barrett family. Seville. Located just outside the parish capital of St. Anne's Bay, and 11 kilometers from the tourist mecca of Ocho Rios, Seville is known for its beauty and historical authenticity. Here, you will find evidence of Jamaica's rich culture revealed in artifacts from our Taino, Spanish, British, and African ancestry. Seville Great House is symbolic of the English period. After the capture of the island in 1665, New Seville was abandoned by the Spaniards. Edward Long tells us that the English divided up and allotted the land to victorious officers and other soldiers. In this allotment, the city of New Seville became the property of one Captain Hemmings, an officer of the army, thus becoming Seville Estate. In 1745, Hemmings' grandson built the Great House on the site of the original house, which was built at the end of the 17th century. The house originally consisted of 2 stories. The top story was, however, blown off by a hurricane about 1898, and it was never replaced. The structure is of wattle and daub construction with timber floors and English tiling. The doors of the building are of solid raised panel mahogany. The windows are predominantly sashed, with later modifications, including jalousies. The interior of the house has mahogany arches, which separate the living and dining rooms. There is a veranda enclosed by a set of square wooden columns along the entire northern end of the building. It was designed to provide adequate ventilation and sunlight, as well as privacy. There is a protected entrance portico, which forms the landing for bifurcated cut stone steps. The roof finish is of cedar shingles, with a distinct cap and comb feature. There are two pronounced finials at the gabled ends on the eastern and western side of the roof, and aluminum gutters in the valley. The floor has a stained timber finish. This site is now operated as a heritage attraction. Liberty Hill Plantation. Liberty Hill Plantation was first listed in the crop accounts in 1786 as a pimento plantation. According to Higman, pimento was grown widely on plantations and pens as part of a diversified land use pattern, but appeared as a major crop on only a small number of units. Black River Anglican Church, St. Elizabeth. Known as the Parish Church, this beautiful brick edifice, built in 1837, is located at the corner of High and North Streets. The remains of the original church, built in 1774, are still visible at the site. Interred in the churchyard are many noted individuals who helped shape the course and fortune of the parish. Hampton School. Hampton School is an all-girls boarding school located in Malvern, Jamaica. It is one of the oldest boarding schools in Jamaica and was founded in 1858, 2 years after its all-boys counterpart, Monroe College. The school was originally named Fort Rose and was constructed from funds received from the Monroe and Dickinson Trust. The Black River Courthouse. This historic Georgian structure dates back to the first half of the 19th century. In addition to the courthouse, it also houses the offices of the parish council. Invercargill Great House. Located on High Street, Invercargill is a fine example of late Jamaica Georgian architecture. It is a reminder of Black River's prosperity a century ago, when logwood and shipping brought wealth to the town. It is presently used as a hotel. When the English captured Jamaica in 1655, it was the custom to give officers of the army land grants. Hall's Hall was given to Major Thomas Halls. On the site, Halls raised hogs, grazed cattle, and built a house of thick walls. The house served as the center of his estate and a rallying point for defense. When Thomas Halls died in 1702, the great house was still a single-story building. It became a more imposing and beautiful two-story structure in an era of security and prosperity during the late 1740s. The estate was then owned by Francis Sadler Halls. An elaborate arrangement of stone steps ascended to the new entrance, which was flanked by columns and capped with a fanlight. The peaked portico was added later to conform to a popular architectural style. A new wing, which harmonizes well with the great house architecture, was later added by Alcoa Minerals of Jamaica. The Portland Parish Church, Christchurch, is built on land indentured on the 3rd of September, 1836, by John Dean and Jane Brown. The land was given for the purpose of erecting a church. The church is predominantly a brick structure, with stone and masonry used for decorative purposes, which was the style of that period. This 3-story building is rectangular in plan, with steps on the interior to receive the second entrance. The church also has a 4-story tower, which houses the belfry and clock. The Moran Bay Courthouse. The Moran Bay Courthouse, which was destroyed by fire on Monday, February 19, 2007, is an important part of St. Thomas's history. It was the scene of the Moran Bay Rebellion of 1865. The riot began as a protest by local citizens against poor economic and social conditions in the country. Falmouth Parish Church. Built in 1795, the Falmouth Parish Church, also known as St. Peter's Anglican, is the oldest public building in the town. The land for the church was donated by Edward Barrett, part of whose estate had been bought to lay out the town. St. Mark's Anglican Church. The St. Mark's Anglican Church, the parish church of Manchester, was completed and consecrated in 1820. It is constructed of stone. In the late 19th century, the chancel and timber clerestory were added, and the tower was raised. This building features classic Gothic details, such as the pointed arch doors and window openings, which adorn the building. Spanish Town Cathedral. The Spanish Town Cathedral, also known as the St. Catherine Parish Church, was built in the second half of the 17th century. After the conquest of Jamaica by the British in 1655, the British destroyed the original Catholic Church and replaced it with the Anglican Church, which is now the St. Catherine Parish Church or the Spanish Town Cathedral. In 1712, the church was destroyed by a hurricane, but rebuilt in 1714. The church once contained the oldest baptismal and marriage records on the island. It is also associated with important personalities in Jamaica, some of whom are buried there. For instance, Sir Thomas Modiford, Governor, 1664 to 1671, and the Earl of Effingham, Governor, 1790 to 1791. The cathedral is a mixture of many architectural styles, combining round-headed and pointed arches, classical coins, and medieval buttresses. The tower, added in 1817, is crowned with one of the few steeples found in the Caribbean.